This is a story that was told to me by my aunt that gave me the chills. Back in the 90s when she was in college, she worked at Burger King for one summer. She told me that one night, when she was at work, it was a really quiet night and it was pretty late, so it was just her and a few other employees working at the time. My aunt needed to go back to a storage closet they had to get something, but when she opened the door, she saw a man sitting inside the closet. She screamed and ran away to get another worker. When they both came back to the closet and opened it, the man was gone. They had no idea how he could have gotten out without being seen. Then, a few weeks later, while working another late-night shift, my aunt was by herself working the cash register. The restaurant was completely empty, except for a man sitting by himself in the corner. After a few minutes and getting several looks at him, my aunt recognized him to be the same man that was hiding in the closet from before. She wasn't sure what to do. The man was just sitting there in the corner by himself. He didn't order anything, and he wasn't really doing anything either. He was just sitting there. She couldn't help but feel a little bit nervous. My aunt ended up going back to tell one of her coworkers who she was friends with. But when they both came back, once again, the man was gone. It was a weird experience, and my aunt only worked at the Burger King for that one summer. Not long after, she quit working there, but she learned about the history of that Burger King from her friend later on. It used to be a different restaurant, but that restaurant was closed after a man had died inside the restaurant in a robbery. When she saw the man's photo, he looked exactly like the one she had seen. The restaurant was abandoned for about a year before Burger King took it over 5 years before my aunt worked there. It's a pretty creepy story. This happened almost 3 years ago now. I was driving back with my friend from college. It was kind of late at night and we were both super hungry. We saw an exit and took it. When we did, we saw that the only open restaurant there was Arby's. Their drive-thru was out of order, so we both walked inside. The place was very quiet and we appeared to be the only customers. We ordered and then stood by waiting for our food. As we were waiting, we saw the door open and a man walk in. He looked to be middle-aged and was rather tall and large. He had glasses and sort of long hair as well. He walked in slowly and looked at us as he did. Then he walked over and sat down at one of the tables in the restaurant. As we waited, I could feel the eyes of the man locking onto us. My friend and I would both glance over occasionally to see him staring. It was rather uncomfortable. Finally, our food was done, and they gave it to us. We took it and walked out of the restaurant. As we walked out and went back to my car, I noticed the man was parked directly next to us. At least, I assumed that it was the man's car, because there were only 2 other cars in the entire parking lot. Then, I noticed the man exiting the restaurant and walking towards us. He was giving off a really creepy feeling to my friend and I, so we quickly got in my car. We had planned to eat in the parking lot and then drive back, but with the man parked next to us, he got in his car and then began to stare at us once again through the windows of our cars. It was really creepy, so I decided to just drive away. But just as I was afraid of, as soon as I started up my engine, the man started up his as well. And when I started driving away, he followed. I merged back onto the freeway that we had been on before. It was pretty late, so not too many cars were out there besides us. As we started to speed up through the freeway, the guy in the car behind us went from following us to aggressively tailing us. He drove right up to the bumper of my car and followed extremely close. He was so close that I thought he was going to hit the back of my car. I sped up, but at the same time, I knew the potential danger we were in. My heart started to race and I began sweating. The guy behind us then changed lanes and started driving beside us. I slowed down to let him pass. When I did, he slowed down to the same speed. But as his car got next to mine, I looked over and saw him staring at me with a deranged smile on his face. Then he turned his car right towards ours. I had to swerve onto the shoulder of the freeway and slam on my brakes to avoid him hitting me. He ended up swerving too far and then spinning his car out. As it did, he went off the road and his car went down into the ditch. We slowly drove by as we saw him try to drive out of the ditch, but appeared to get stuck. I was relieved, and I didn't want to stay there, so I elected to drive away, but as I did, my friend called the police. We explained the situation, and they said they would have people in the area shortly. I was able to make it home safely, thankfully, but it was a close call and something I will never forget. I used to work pretty late nights at one of the jobs I had a few years ago. I remember one night after work, I was especially hungry and wanted to get some food on the way home. It was after midnight though, so I knew I didn't have many options. Of course, as I was driving down the road, I saw a Taco Bell sign, and I knew they were usually open late, so I decided to stop there. I was not all that familiar with the area, because I only lived in that city for the job I had, and I was from another state entirely. As I pulled into the Taco Bell parking lot, I could see that it seemed a little outdated and run down. There was also nobody else there, but that wasn't all too strange with it being so late. The area did look pretty run down, and it was a little sketchy, but I didn't care. I was just really hungry. I pulled into the drive-thru. It took a while for the person to ask me what I wanted, but when they finally did, I ordered 2 beef burritos. I pulled around to the next window and paid. The worker said the food would be out shortly, and then walked away from the window. Once they walked away, it took a really long time for them to come back. I sat there waiting for about 5 minutes. I wondered why it would be taking so long because nobody else was here, and I had ordered one of the most common things on the menu. Still, I wasn't going to complain as long as I got my food. But then, out of nowhere, I felt the back passenger side door to my car try to be opened. I was driving an SUV, but thankfully my back doors were locked. I looked but couldn't see anybody. They must have quickly hid behind my car at an angle I couldn't see. Then I heard someone kick the back of my car. As they kicked it, I looked again and saw somebody duck down behind the back of my car. Then, I started to see a man running out of a bush on the edge of the parking lot of the Taco Bell. He was running straight for my car and appeared to be wearing a ski mask covering his whole head. I didn't waste a moment and quickly hit the gas pedal and sped away. I could see him and another man running after me in my rearview mirror as I sped off. I left the area quickly and ended up driving home without getting any food. I reported the incident, but I never stopped at that Taco Bell again.